Today we're gonna talk about how I lost a lot of money in this house. It is painful to make this video, but I think it's good that it's recorded right now and you're listening, because even though I do want you to make mistakes because that's how you learn, I'm gonna tell you the awful truth about flipping from the beginning to the end. I'm gonna tell you all the details, what happened in this house outside and inside, so just stay with me. So the first thing is that we bought this house for $205,000, and when we were doing not an inspection but the walkthrough with the owner was a little suspicious. And now that I think about it, the owner was always walking with us, but everywhere that we go. So like if we were to go to the basement, he would go with us. If we were to go to the attic, and he didn't have a lot of stuff in here. So that's, I think, one of the red flags. If the owner is like walking like behind your back all the time, I don't know, there's something fishy about that. The other thing is that this is an older home. This is an 1876. So typically older homes, we knew that there was going to be a lot of problems and all that, but we didn't know that it was going to be this awful. When you're buying houses that they're older than 1920, I would say inspected really, really well, no matter where you are. And when I say 1920, it's because I found that the 1920, 1950s house were built a little different than this one. They were using all the type of materials, the beams and all that. So I personally like 1950, 1960, even though you're listening to this and this is pretty old. I think the construction back then on those years were pretty good. So yeah, a lot of things happened on the exterior and interior. So we bought this house for $205. I'm not gonna tell you all the numbers until we go to the end, but you will hear from me. The big problem that happened here, I'm gonna summarize it to you, but my guys were here on Wednesday morning and they were knocking that shit down. And I was like, great, I don't need a permit. I went to the town, they told me I don't need one because I don't building anything, any structure there. So well, what happens is the major, as you can see, that's a major avenue here. The major drove by, he stopped by, and my guy said, hey, the major wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. So then I talked to the major. The major is calling the inspectors because we didn't pull any permits. When I confronted the situation with the secretary, she said, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. And now I need permits for that, which is not the problem. The problem was that now the inspector, since he was furious because the major called him, now he wants to see everything that is inside. And again, since we pull all the permits, we have nothing to hide, it's all good. But the main problem here is that it takes time. When you involve the city in your flips, it just takes more time than you think. It's not gonna go as smooth as you think. It never goes. So if you're not pulling any permits and you're thinking about doing like a 60 days, 90 days renovations, and you have to now pull permits, and which electrical, HVAC, plumbing, all that, make sure that you put at least 2 to 4 more months because it's gonna take more time. So again, now, this is a new driveway that we did because we didn't have any driveway in this house. There was a shared driveway in the back that I'm gonna show you later. So, but we need a private driveway because that was in this avenue, in this house, you need parking. So we did that. So this is the house that you see. One of the mistakes that we did was we painted the house, and even if it looks good right now, it was almost costing the same amount of money to put a new siding than actually just painting it. So big tip here, when you look for pricing for changing the exterior siding or to paint the house, if it costs you, let's say $1,000 more just to put siding, just put siding, because you're gonna save more money in the long run. We had a brand new roof. Another mistake, the roof was okay, but we want to have a good product. We put new gutters, and we have to fix the deck on here. One of the other things here that I see is that we put new windows, and when you install new windows, make sure that you have a local supplier. Like, don't buy it from Home Depot or Lowe's, but make sure also that you're accounting that they're gonna take a long time to get here. So we waited 4 to 5 weeks to the windows to arrive. Yeah, they're custom made, and they're beautiful, but also they're twice as cheaper than if you buy it from Lowe's and Home Depot. So make sure that you have a local supplier for the windows. We didn't do anything here. We just painted, fixed a little bit. We have to add a Bilco door, which they get really pricey. When you buy a Bilco door, that Bilco door is probably $600-700 plus in the installation, all the cement, you're talking about $1,500 on that Bilco door. And again, you know, painted. We eliminate 2 windows from there. And as you can see, this side, I will say, is the roughest side. The other thing is that when you hire a painter here, make sure that you are hiring a really good one, because what happens is if they don't sand it well, if they don't take their time to sand it well, then you're gonna have a hard time having a nice product. So make sure that they sand it well and they apply the necessary materials, good materials, in order to paint this house. We use Woodscapes by Sherwin-Williams. I don't know the color name, but that's a very good paint for siding. So yeah, just take some notes. And the last tip here outside, you see, as you can see, the foundation we cover in cement. That's one of the things that add a lot of value to your house, because these old houses have bricks, and the bricks sometimes they don't look good. So imagine coming to this house and seeing that the bricks are, you know, falling apart or anything. So we fix the bricks. In fact, we put a new foundation here, and then we just cement it. That way it looks like a smooth, it's just a little wet, that's why you see there, but it just looks smooth all the way and it looks much better. So right now we are in the interior of the house, and one of the things in here that I want to let you know, all the mistakes that I made. So I'm gonna show you how the house was looking before we bought it, and I believe that this house I overdid it. And when I say overdid it is, as you can see here, there's a main beam about 29 feet. When you do a main beam like that, you have to involve engineers. Why? It's a huge beam. If you are pulling permits, get ready, because the city inspector will require that you hire some engineers to tell you all the loads. So that add extra time and extra cost. Engineers are not cheap. So that was the first mistake. I don't think I should have opened like I did in this house, but it looks nice. It's an open concept, as I'm gonna show you. The other mistake that I made was, when you're flipping a house, the houses are, you know, the other houses in the neighborhood are selling for 500,000, 600,000, 700,000. Maybe you can consider opening. But when you have a house like this house was sold for 370,000. You don't need to do that. Why? Because the market in this area doesn't require you to do that. But we did it anyways, and that's one of the features that right now it's selling, and we sold 10,000 above asking, but the extra cost added for this was not justified. So maybe I could have opened just the entrance so it's look nice, but then the rooms I should have kept the same way. Let's talk about the mistakes that I made in the kitchen. In the kitchen, as you can see, these are plywood cabinets. I shouldn't have spent the money in the plywood cabinets. I should have put Home Depot or Lowe's. Why? Because in this market, people just want to have brand new cabinets. They don't care too much about if they're plywood or MDF or anything. You know, the backsplash style, that's all good. I also put a dishwasher, which add a little extra cost. Was it necessary? Maybe, maybe not. We do just stainless steel appliances, as you can see here. And one of the big mistakes also that I made was that when you hire a contractor here, you have to make sure that you are hiring for their expertise and their trade. A lot of contractors, they will tell you, yes, I'm a carpenter, but I also can do the electrical and the plumber. I don't do that anymore. That was a mistake. Why? Because I end up paying twice to fix a problem, because they can actually do it. Especially if the contractor is Latino, they think they can do everything. I'm Latino as well, and I think I can do everything. Do not rely on that. Have contractors have expertise in their area. So for carpentry, you're a carpenter. If you're gonna hire a plumber, make sure it's a different person than the actual. Now, when it's something minor, like changing, let's say, a light fixture, then the carpenter can do it. That's a very minor. But when it's something like changing wiring or wiring a dishwasher, that requires more knowledge. So don't trust the contractors unless they actually know what they're doing. So right now we are at the second floor. In here, we didn't make that many mistakes. You know, we just changed the trims, the windows, the flooring. I will say this. When you are doing the flooring, if you want to keep this budget, try to use laminate. It ends up being cheaper than actually vinyl. A little bit cheaper, not that much, depending on the material that you use. But in the bedrooms, you can always use laminate, and you know, in the high traffic areas. But in the bathrooms and kitchen, do not use laminate because it's not waterproof. So that was one bedroom, second bedroom, third bedroom. They're nice. And then this is I will say the second bathroom. So in here, I'm gonna tell you the mistakes that I made. So I don't think this is a mistake, but we always try to keep some charm of the original house. And as you can see, that top was the charm. Now the problem is that, you know, the tub was in decent shape, but then you have to find the components here. So if you find the components, then just keep it, because I think it's nice. And you always need a tub, especially if they have babies and they have to, you know, wash their babies in the tub, not like in a stand-up shower. But make sure that you guys are finding what you need to make it really nice. If you cannot, then just put like a normal tub and tile and all that. But we try to keep the charm and to keep the budget down as well. We just left the tub. Again, this is another tip. When you guys are doing the vanities and the mirror and all that, try to always combine black. Black combined, it's a color that matches with like literally everything. So you guys can match that. And then as well, white and black looks really, really good. And again, it's not extra cost for us. It's just the same cost. So I will keep it always black and white. Always is let's say it's a neutral color. It's a color that every buyer will like. If you try to get like very blue or very green on the vanity and then a lot of colors on the wall, you always try to keep it light. Try to keep the walls light and try to keep the colors light. I believe the color that we use for the walls, it's called Silver Dust by Silver Williams. It's a very light gray, and as you can see, it literally matches with everything. When the natural light hits, it is really nice. So right now we're in the attic. Let me tell you one of the biggest mistakes that happens. I'm sorry there's not a lot of good lighting here, but I know that you understood what happened here. So in here, this was covered all over with sheetrock, right? And what happened was that under that sheetrock, since we bought it with no cash, no inspection or nothing, because of certain parts needed to be sheetrock, we find out that all this, there was a fire damage here. Now, luckily, we had the idea to literally sand it. As you can see now, once we sand it, it was approved by the town. The town doesn't want you to redo the whole roof, so they allow us to sand everything. That costs us about $1,500 to sand for a whole day, sand every single thing here. And the other mistake here is insulation, guys. As you can see, we have to do in between the second floor and the third floor, there has to be insulation as a per code. Again, city inspectors, per code, there has to be some type of insulation between the second floor and the attic. And since we already sheetrocked the second floor and there was no insulation whatsoever, then we have to add insulation here, which was about $2,000 that we were not counting. We injected insulation in one of the boards, and as you can see here, there's insulation underneath the whole flooring, so the house stay warm. But again, that was a $2,000 cost that we were not counting on. We decided not to refinish this attic, even though that was one of the ideas just because of budget. But definitely, that's one of the things that you should definitely consider: the insulation and how good, what is the condition of these rafters. All right, guys, so now we're going to the basement, which, as you can see, this is fresh new wood. We have to put a brand new stairs, which is no problem. But let me tell you here, exactly, this is where we spend the most amount of money. So I'm gonna take my time to explain to you all the mistakes and problems with it. So first of all, this is a brand new cement, and this is a dirt. So whenever you have a property that is a dirt floor, if you're gonna flip it, it's gonna be really hard for the buyer to stomach that. So this flooring costs us about $8,000 just to put this cement floor. Okay. The other part is that since the house again was old and it was like old stone and it needed to be repointed, we decided to do this kind of treatment, which is cement, and it fortifies everything here around here. Okay. As you can see, this is cement, and it just fortifies the whole thing. Looking back right now, I think I should have just sheetrocked it. I think it would have been cheaper, but because we didn't want it to hide anything, when we do the final inspection. I think that was a mistake. If you have a basement, I think it will be cheaper and better just to sheetrock and paint it. As well, we have to install, again, this is an old house, so we have to install new supports here, as you can see. And it's not, those supports is not on the cement. We have to dig 42 inches and put the support all the way down. That way the house doesn't sag, as you can see. The furnace was in good condition, so we have to change the water heater here. We have to repair the beam that it was acceptable for the home inspector. As you can see, we have to add a new main. Even though we in the process of flipping this house, we installed this because there's no main. That was not expensive, but it's tedious because you have to call the water company to turn it down off so you can install that and then turn it on again. We have to do the termite treatment. It's not too expensive, almost $1,000. And then we have to put a brand new panel. So a lot of gurus out there don't want to tell you the real truth, and I don't consider myself a guru. I'm just a guy that flips houses and have rentals and stuff. So I'm gonna tell you the real numbers about this deal and how we lost and what can you do to not lose that kind of money. So originally the budget for this house was 90 to 100,000 and we ended up spending 140,000, and I'm gonna tell you the reason why, but just stay there. The sold price was actually better than we thought. So we sold it for 370,000. We thought we were gonna sell between 350 and 355. So we end up doing well in that aspect. Our holding cost for this deal was about 24,000. And when I say holding cost, this includes the insurance that we have to pay, all utilities, when we bought the house, all the acquisition costs, when we sold the house, all the attorney fees was 24,000. And that it obviously includes everything. So if we talk about realtors, we spent 15,000 in realtors when we sold the house. So that's pretty standard. We bought this house for 205,000. That didn't change. And you might wonder why you spent 40 to 50,000 over budget. And obviously, like I explained in the videos, first was, the holding costs affect us because we have to pull permits. And this house, we didn't have to pull any permits because the job that it was required to finish the job, it was just, purely cosmetic. There was maybe 1 or 2 permits that we have to pull, but they're very minor and they would take like a week or two instead of like the 15 permits that we had to take for everything. Even to change one window, which typically, if you want to change a window, you don't need a permit. It's if you want to change 20 windows, yes, but for one window, they made us apply for a permit. So the other thing was the unforeseen things that we didn't see. I think this is my fault. I take full responsibility because I should have inspected the house much better. I think that I felt pressure from the owner, and you shouldn't feel like you had to take your time, hire, a contractor, hire an inspector to do the job work for you, because if I would have found that, I would have probably not backed out of the deal, but I would negotiate bigger credit. I would negotiate a lower price for the house. And the other mistake that I made was that when I sold the house, again, on the contract says no inspections, and 3 weeks later they were asking if a cousin can come. He's an inspector, he can just oversee things. And that was a huge mistake. You never allow that. If your contract says no inspections, it's no inspection. Because of that, we end up spending $5,000 making repairs, such a new water heater. We have to fix the beam. We have to replace the electrical panel. And again, another mistake. And obviously all the foundation issues we knew, but that also added additional cost to our project. In conclusion, you might think that I'm a loser and I'm a bad flipper. And the truth is that I have learned 2 things from real estate, is that if you have never lost, you're probably staying on your comfort zone. You're probably buying 1 or 2 deals a year. And that's okay, that's totally okay, but you gotta get out of your comfort zone, and that's what I was trying to do. And the other thing is, like, out of all at this point, the millions that we have done flipping houses and having a big portfolio of rentals, this is just a scratch. Like, I don't see it as a loss. I see it as okay, this happened, I got my scratch, and the next day I was fine. And I learned my lesson. So just to recap a few things that you shouldn't buy. I would not recommend buying houses that are older than 1900. I would not recommend buying houses, again, this is only if you're a beginner. I would not recommend buying houses if you're a knob and tube and you don't know how to fix that, with major plumbing issues. Obviously, foundation issues can get very hairy. Could be very simple as adding a column, or it can be very expensive as, pouring a new foundation. And again, we have been there. And try to avoid, I will say in my experience, wells and septics. If not, inspect them. And I always try to buy city water, city sewer. It's just more predictable. I will say underground oil tanks. This house didn't have one, but those are one of the costs that you don't know. And if you don't get that inspected well, you might end up paying pretty much a lot of money. So guys, if you like this video, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any thoughts about this or anything that I could have done better, just let me know. And if you have a friend that is trying to renovate a house or flip a house or buying the next rental, just share this video with them. And until the next one, peace.